Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling a really big challenge in the blockchain world. How do we get all these different systems talking to each other?
Yeah, it's a fundamental problem.
Think about it. You've got Bitcoin, super secure, but maybe a bit slow for some things.
Right.
Then Monero, great for privacy, but no smart contracts. And Ethereum, the smart contract king, but it's had its own scalability journey.
It's like these islands, isn't it? Each with its own strengths, but, well, isolated.
Exactly. Islands. Good analogy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of pushed some interesting solutions, hasn't it?
Definitely. People saw the need for bridges between these islands, creating a more, let's say, connected ecosystem.
Which brings us neatly to our first topic, ChainX. This project is all about that cross-chain interaction, getting assets moving.
Yeah, their goal, as the Coin Bureau review points out, is letting native tokens, your actual Bitcoin, your actual Ether, move between chains.
So not wrap tokens, but the real deal.
That's the idea. Keeping a Bitcoin, even if it's, temporarily working on a different network, a sort of digital asset gateway.
A gateway.
Okay.
And they want to do this peer-to-peer, distributed.
Precisely. To cut down on needing intermediaries, which, can introduce risks, human error, even fraud sometimes.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So for today's deep dive, what sources are we working with? We've got that Coin Bureau review.
Yep, that gives a good look at ChainX itself. Then there's an excerpt from the Onyx white paper.
Onyx, right. That's the layer 3 thing, using Arbitrum Base.
Exactly. And it has its own token, XCN.
Yeah.
We've also got a bit from a Reddit thread on ChainX, plus a couple of articles looking at XCN's price and Onyx generally.
Okay. A decent mix.
Yeah.
So we get the ChainX history and mechanics, and then this newer layer 3 approach with Onyx and XCN.
Should give us a good picture.
So the mission today, I guess, is twofold. First, let's really try to understand how ChainX actually pulls off these cross-chain transfers. What are the nuts and bolts? And second, let's explore Onyx. This layer 3 using XCNX, what's its potential? What impact could it have?
Sounds like a plan.
All right, let's start with ChainX. Where did it even come from? What's the backstory?
Well, according to the review, the roots go back to 2016. The founders got interested in Parity's work, the Polkadot team.
Polkadot. So early days for that ecosystem too.
Very early. They really dug into the Polkadot white paper concepts. And then fast forward a bit, the first ChainX mainnet launched around May 2019.
So they were thinking about this interoperability problem pretty early on.
Seems like it.
And the main goal from the start was making these native assets, Bitcoin, Ether, work together directly, without needing like a special intermediary token or wrapping.
That was the core vision, yeah. That digital asset gateway idea. A direct peer-to-peer exchange of the actual assets between chains, cutting out the middleman, reducing risk.
Okay. Now the review mentions ChainX evolved. Started as one chain, then multi-chain, and by 2021 it was a layer 2 relay network on Polkadot. What does that mean exactly? A layer 2 relay.
Right. It was a progression. Starting single chain let them build the core tech. Then going multi-chain expanded their reach. Becoming a layer 2 relay on Polkadot was, well, a key step.
Okay.
Think of Polkadot as this base layer, providing security and a framework for specialized chains, parachains, to connect. ChainX then operates as a kind of secondary layer within that Polkadot world. Its specific job is handling the asset movement while leveraging Polkadot's security and connections.
Got it. So ChainX is like a specialized highway system for assets built on Polkadot's infrastructure using its security. So what are the key parts of ChainX that make this work, the components?
The review breaks it down into 4 main modules. First is the PCX module. PCX is their native token. This module handles everything PCX related: staking, paying fees, governance votes, distributing rewards for what they call interchain mining. PCX is basically the engine.
Okay, the fuel and the management system. What about the other 3?
Second is the DEX module, decentralized exchange. This is where the actual asset swapping happens between chains.
The trading floor.
Pretty much. Aiming for efficient cross-chain trades, hopefully keeping costs down.
Makes sense. And number 3?
The interchain module. This is the entry and exit point for assets. It deals with these things called X tokens.
X tokens.
Yeah, basically representations of outside assets on the ChainX network. So like X Bitcoin. This module verifies incoming transactions, creates these X tokens, manages custodians for the underlying assets, and handles deposits and withdrawals.
So this is where the Bitcoin becomes an X Bitcoin on ChainX and then goes back to being Bitcoin when it leaves. Yeah. The conversion happens here.
Essentially, yes. And the last one,
Module 4,
is the relay module. This is the communication bridge. It keeps ChainX updated on what's happening on the connected chains, monitoring activity, passing data back and forth.
Okay, so it keeps everyone in sync. 4 modules working together. Now, you mentioned asset mining. That sounds different. How does that work?
Yeah, it's pretty unique. The basic idea is you deposit cryptos like Bitcoin or Ether onto ChainX, and you get rewarded with PCX tokens.
Okay.
But the interesting part is each type of asset you deposit gives you 1 vote in the system.
Wait, 1 asset type, 1 vote, not based on the amount. So a little bit of Ether gets the same voting power as a huge amount of Bitcoin in terms of this 1 vote.
Exactly. It's called the 1 asset, 1 vote model. It's meant to make staking and governance fairer. Since ChainX didn't have a pre-mine or an ICO.
Right, so no huge chunk of tokens given out early to insiders.
Correct. This system tries to level the playing field. Your influence, this sort of virtual computing power, is tied to the diversity of assets you blew in, not just how much money you have.
That's actually really interesting. Shifts the incentive from just pure capital to like contributing variety to the ecosystem.
And they break asset mining down further. There's voting mining, just staking your PCX like traditional proof of stake.
Okay.
And then there's interchain asset mining that's depositing the BTC, ETH, etc. These get assigned a virtual computing power based on, some formula involving market price and other factors.
So both PCX holders and those bringing in outside assets contribute and earn PCX. And the overall network security that comes mainly from staked PCX.
Yes. The review says staked PCX secures the network, and naturally, the more assets connected, the more valuable the whole thing becomes. Classic network effect.
Gotcha. Okay, asset mining makes more sense now. Let's talk consensus. How do they agree on the transaction history? It's called Babe plus Grandpa.
Yeah, unique name. It's a hybrid proof of stake. The key thing is it separates block generation from block finalization.
How so?
So the Babe module proposes and generates new blocks roughly every 6 seconds. Then Grandpa comes along and confirms those blocks, making them permanent, finalizes them.
Babe suggests Grandpa approves. Simple enough. Why did they go this route instead of, say, standard POS or PAL-W?
Well, they felt proof of work like Bitcoin tends to centralize mining power.
Yeah, into big pools.
And even simpler, proof of stake can concentrate power with early investors or the dev team if they hold lots of tokens.
Which isn't ideal for decentralization.
Exactly. So with Babe plus Grandpa, the goal was more decentralization from the start. The review notes they launched with dozens of consensus nodes, expecting that to grow. Initially maybe on cloud servers, but later perhaps even desktop wallets, assuming good internet and resources.
And are there good reasons for people to run these nodes? Incentives?
Oh yeah. Node operators can earn up to 10% of the mining income from users who stake PCX with their node. And that percentage isn't fixed. It can be changed by community vote.
Okay.
But there are penalties too. If a node goes down or acts maliciously, rewards can be cut and the funds go to the ChainX treasury. Accountability.
Good. Need sticks as well as carrots. How are these validator nodes chosen?
It's a really fast election cycle, just 1 hour. Nodes get ranked by how many PCX votes they get. If a node doesn't make the cut for active validation in that hour, it becomes a synchronizing node.
Does it still get paid?
Interestingly, yes. Both validator nodes and synchronizing nodes get rewards at the same rate, so you're not penalized too much for just missing out on the top spots in one particular hour.
That's fair. A dynamic system. Now, looping back to Polkadot, ChainX has deep roots there. How do they actually interact? What does ChainX do versus Polkadot?
The review clarifies this. ChainX is really focused on the asset interaction and movement, the value transfer. Polkadot itself is more about exchanging any kind of data between its connected blockchains.
So different jobs, but complementary.
Very much so. ChainX leverages Polkadot's infrastructure and security for its specific goal of cross-chain asset transfers.
And it operates as this layer 2 relay using parachains. What does that structure look like?
Think of ChainX having specialized teams, or parachains, under the main Polkadot umbrella. There's the main ChainX relay chain for security and coordination.
Okay.
Then you have bridge parachains, separate parachains for specific bridges, like a Bitcoin bridge or an Ethereum bridge. Splitting them up helps with throughput.
Right. Avoids bottlenecks.
Then there's a trade parachain, which is basically the DX module handling the asset matching. And finally, dApp parachains for community-built decentralized apps that use these cross-chain features.
Specialized chains for security, bridging, trading, and apps. Sounds organized. Let's get into the bridging itself. The ChainX bridge, how does it work, say, for Bitcoin?
It emphasizes transparency. It uses a one-way light node relay. Light nodes need less data, making verification easier for users.
Okay.
The idea is to minimize trust needed in third parties. User funds are held by multiple trust nodes using multi-signature addresses, both hot and cold wallets for security. Needs multiple approvals to move funds.
Sounds pretty secure. How does that compare to Polkadot's own bridging?
Polkadot's main bridging is between its own parachains. If a parachain wants to connect to an external chain like Bitcoin, it needs a specialized bridge. That's what ChainX provides.
Okay.
And the cool thing is, because Polkadot connects all of the parachains, any bridge built, like ChainX's, benefits all the other parachains, that network effect again.
So ChainX building a good Bitcoin bridge helps everyone else on Polkadot who might want to interact with Bitcoin.
Exactly. And it gives ChainX access to potentially all assets connected to Polkadot. They figured that as more bridges connect to Polkadot, the main layer might get congested.
So ChainX as a secondary relay helps scale that bridging capacity.
That's the idea. It allows for more specialized bridges later. And having access to all these assets lets ChainX offer more financial services, stablecoins, private trading, DeFi tools, using Bitcoin and betting apps, whatever the network needs.
Right. More assets mean more possibilities. Okay, let's talk about the fuel, the PCX token, total supply, main uses.
The review says total supply is capped at 21 million PCX. Initial emission was 50 PCX per block, but that halves every 2 years, similar to Bitcoin.
Okay, a halving schedule. Predictable scarcity, potentially.
And the founding team was set to hold 20% after the first 2 years, as for uses.
Yeah, what does PCX actually do?
Several key things. Paying minor fees on ChainX transactions. It's the unit for market cap for the ecosystem. It's collateral for running consensus nodes and trustee nodes.
Those are the ones managing the bridged assets.
Right. It's also used in the POS elections for validators, and fundamentally it's the base currency for exchange on the platform.
Multi-purpose, really integrated. The review mentioned something interesting, staking rewards often covering transaction fees.
Yeah, that's a big part of their economic design. The goal is that for the average user staking PCX, the rewards they earn for helping secure the network might actually cover the cost of their transactions.
Makes it more accessible, encourages participation.
Exactly. Heavy users will probably still pay net fees, but for most, it could balance out.
Now, PCX price. Like most cryptos, it's been volatile, right? The review gave a snapshot.
Oh yeah, big swings. The article mentioned an all-time high near $20 back in August 2020 and a low around 54 cents in March 2020.
Wow.
At the time the review was written, market cap was about $120 million, ranking it around hashtag 300. So quite a journey.
Definitely. And for people wanting to stake PCX, the review laid out the steps.
Yeah, it walks through creating a wallet on their dApp, choosing a node to stake with, how much to stake, leaving a bit for fees.
Always leave a little for gas.
Right. And how to claim interest. And the unstaking process, which has like a 3-day freeze period before you get the tokens back.
Seems pretty standard for staking. Now, governance. How does the community steer the ship for ChainX? There's a tricameral structure.
Yeah, similar to Polkadot's model, 3 main parts. The referendum chamber, the council, and the technical committee, plus a treasury and the X Association.
Okay, layers of decision-making. The referendum chamber, who's in that?
All PCX holders, any big changes to the core rules, the runtime logic, go to a referendum, everyone with PCX gets to vote.
Direct democracy for the big stuff.
If a proposal passes, it gets enacted automatically after a 7-day waiting period, ensures broad support.
Got it. What about the council? Sounds more like representative governance.
Exactly. Having referendums for everything can be slow. So the council handles more routine stuff. It's 11 elected members plus 7 runners-up.
Elected how often?
Daily. But the review says members often stay consistent unless the community decides otherwise.
Okay. And what powers does the council have?
They can submit proposals for those big referendums. They can cancel a referendum and an emergency needs a 2/3 vote. They can cancel staking penalties caused by network issues, needs half the council. And importantly, they vote on treasury spending proposals needs 3/5 to pass, more than half to reject.
So, day-to-day management and filtering proposals, then the technical committee, the experts.
That's right, made up of the core ChainX dev team. They advise the council on technical stuff. They can fast-track emergency proposals for critical bugs.
Vital.
And they have a short-term veto, like 7 days on council-passed referendums if they have serious technical concerns about network stability or security.
A technical safety net. Good. Now, the treasury. Where does its money come from and what's it for?
Funds come from node penalties, slashing, some mining rewards, and lost deposits from unsuccessful council candidates.
Okay.
The money's used to support the ecosystem.
Yeah.
Infrastructure, security audits, partnerships, marketing, community projects, software development. Anyone in the community can apply for funding.
Reinvesting back into the network.
Nice.
And the X Association.
That's a nonprofit set up to support ChainX development. It's made up of experts and enthusiasts who know the tech, the community, the broader landscape, long-term supporters.
Okay, a dedicated support group.
Yeah.
So, wrapping up on ChainX, what's the big picture takeaway?
The review really stresses its focus on true asset interoperability, especially letting you stake things like Bitcoin that normally can't be staked. That opens up new economic models.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Their integration with Polkadot is key. And while it's still early days and the cross-chain space is competitive, their unique approach could become really important as things mature.
And that Reddit thread, any insights there on, say, Bitcoin smart contracts?
Yeah, the thread had discussions about their interchain tech and, importantly, their efforts around enabling some smart contract functionality for Bitcoin that fits right into their goal of making assets more versatile.
Fascinating stuff. A Polkadot native project trying to bridge everything, even adding features to Bitcoin. Okay, let's switch gears now to Onyx. Layer 3 uses the XCN token. What's its main goal?
The white paper excerpt paints Onyx as a Layer 3 built using Arbitrum Orbit, settling transactions on Base, the Layer 2.
Okay, lots of layers.
Yeah. It's designed for better scalability, better interoperability, and more economic efficiency, but still relying on Ethereum's underlying security.
Layer 3. So it's building on top of Layer 2 scaling solutions like Base to get even faster or cheaper.
Pretty much. It uses Arbitrum Nitro for EVM compatibility so Ethereum apps can run on it. It uses advanced compression to shrink transactions, cutting fees, boosting throughput.
And fraud proofs, like optimistic rollup.
Exactly. That's key for ensuring transaction integrity. And central to it all is the XCN token. It pays for gas, it's used for staking, and for governance via the Onyx DAO.
Okay.
They've also got EIP 1559 integrated. That means more predictable gas fees and a mechanism that burns some XCN with each transaction.
Fee burning could make the token deflationary over time. Nice. The white paper calls Onyx a purpose-built Layer 3. How is it different from just general scaling?
The focus is on creating specialized environments for specific applications. It's not just about making everything faster, it's about tailoring rollups.
Custom rollups.
Yeah, think of them as bespoke blockchains optimized for a specific app or use case. These custom rollups still get security and liquidity from Ethereum via Base.
So instead of one big highway, you build custom lanes for different types of traffic. What are the benefits of that?
Well, less congestion is the big one. Apps aren't competing for the same resources.
Right.
That leads to smoother processing, better interoperability between similar apps, perhaps. The white paper also mentions flexibility, app-specific governance, maybe different consensus if needed, fine-tuning network parameters.
Like custom race cars instead of generic sedans. Makes sense for specific needs. And XCN is the fuel for all this. Gas, staking. What else?
Gas for transactions and smart contracts, definitely. Staking for rewards and network security. And crucially, governance through the Onyx DAO. XCN holders propose and vote on the protocol's future. Utility, security, governance, all in one.
Got it. Multifaceted. Now, it's built on Arbitrum Orbit. What does that actually mean for Onyx? What is Arbitrum Orbit?
Orbit is basically a tech stack, a framework for launching these custom Layer 3 networks like Onyx. It provides the tools to build highly scalable, cost-efficient, adaptable chains.
So it's like a launch pad for Layer 3s.
Kind of, yeah. It lets developers create these specialized execution environments, the custom rollups, maybe with their own consensus or governance, without building everything from scratch.
And how does using Orbit help Onyx keep Ethereum security but lower costs?
A key part is using AnyTrust Data Availability Committee, the DAC. This manages transaction data off-chain efficiently and verifiably without putting it all on Ethereum L1.
Cuts down on the expensive L1 data storage.
Exactly. Reduces gas fees. Orbit also enables those specialized environments for DeFi, tokenization, gaming, keeping them separate so one busy app doesn't slow down others. And it's built for interoperability with Ethereum and other L2S L3s. Easier access to liquidity and smart contracts across chains.
Okay, so Orbit provides the Layer 3 building blocks, focusing on efficiency and connectivity. The other piece is Base, Coinbase's L2. That's the economic security layer. What's that mean?
Base, built on the OP stack, acts as the settlement layer for Onyx. It's designed for high scale, low cost, and developer friendliness.
Okay.
Onyx uses Base's connection to Ethereum for smooth interoperability, minimizing friction and gas costs between layers. Base processes transactions in batches off-chain, then settles them on Ethereum L1 periodically.
So Onyx gets Base's speed and low cost, but ultimately Ethereum security.
That's the goal. High throughput, low gas for Onyx users, fast finality, all backed by Ethereum security. Plus, Base has developer tools compatible with Ethereum, making it easier to build on Onyx.
So Base is the secure, efficient settlement foundation. Now, the white paper talks about Onyx pioneering institutional blockchain adoption. Why is this L3 model supposedly good for big institutions?
The argument is that traditional L1s and even many L2s struggle with institutional demands, massive scale, predictable costs, easy integration with old systems.
Yeah, banks have high standards.
Right. Onyx, by combining Ethereum security, Arbitrum scaling tech, and Base's efficiency, aims to tackle these issues. The custom execution environments are key.
Because institutions can get their own dedicated space.
Exactly. No competing with retail DeFi degen activity. They can fine-tune parameters, gas fees, governance to fit their industry rules and needs. Makes it much more appealing for banking, asset management, etc.
Customization, control, predictable cost, big selling points for institutions. What are the main advantages listed for this Layer 3 model?
Scalability and performance are top, thanks to Arbitrum. Security and stability from Ethereum Base. The customization via rollups is huge. And then the interoperability, connecting easily to other networks.
Sounds like they're taking a lot of boxes for enterprise needs. What was the core motivation for going Layer 3 in the first place?
The white paper says it's about getting much higher scalability, more customization, better interoperability, without compromising security or decentralization. Layer 3 allows these specialized environments with optimized consensus, fees, governance in a way L1, L2 often can't.
Okay. And why Arbitrum Orbit and Base specifically? What made that combo attractive?
They needed huge scalability, top security, cost efficiency, and easy Ethereum integration. Arbitrum Orbit offered the high-performance, application-specific rollups inheriting Ethereum security. AnyTrust's DAC was crucial for cutting costs via off-chain data. Base provided the scalable settlement layer, liquidity access, and economic security. And Base's Ethereum integration smooths out cross-chain interaction.
A strategic tech stack choice. They also talk about scalability without compromises. How do they aim for that? Ultra-low fees, high throughput, but still secure and decentralized.
It relies on the optimistic rollup model batching transactions off-chain, the AnyTrust protocol for cost-effective off-chain data availability, and they're using parallel transaction processing within the rollups.
Processing multiple transactions at once.
Yeah, to boost efficiency and overall throughput.
Makes sense. We talked customization, but how much control do developers really get on Onyx?
Apparently a lot. Application-specific rollups let them tailor network parameters, governance, security, fees, really customize it. The dedicated environments stop interference from other apps. Plus, flexible governance and security frameworks allow custom consensus or validators if needed.
Like a fully customizable blockchain sandbox. What about connecting outwards? Interoperability.
It's designed for seamless connections, acting as a bridge between L1s and L2s with minimal friction. The goal is harmonized cross-chain interactions without needing too much trust, using advanced rollups and secure messaging.
Okay.
They're also focused on developer tools, standardized APIs, cross-chain communication tools to make building interconnected apps easier.
Breaking down those blockchain silos, what about the economic and governance advantages of Onyx and XCN?
Well, having XCN as the native gas token aligns incentives users, devs, validators for long-term sustainability. They aim for significantly lower, more predictable fees than L1, L2s.
Predictability is good.
Staking XCN and validator incentives boost economic stability and security. And the Onyx DAO gives XCN holders power over the protocol's direction through proposals and voting.
Community-driven economics and direction. Can you quickly summarize the Onyx architecture overview?
Sure. It's L3 on top of Base L2, settling on Ethereum L1. Key parts: execution environment, Arbitrum Nitro, EVM compatible, optimistic rollup, fraud proofs, data availability, AnyTrust DAs, settlement layer, Base L2, and the gas token, XCN with EIP 1559.
A clear layered structure. And the execution environment details. How are transactions processed?
Arbitrum Nitro provides the EVM environment. Optimistic rollups bundle transactions. Fraud proofs ensure correctness. They aim for deterministic finality, predictable outcomes. parallel execution for higher throughput, and constant gas optimization.
Efficiency is key. How does data availability with any trust work again, ensuring data integrity?
The DKeep manages data storage off-chain. Cryptographic proofs, like Merkle trees, allow efficient verification without downloading everything. There are Ethereum-based fallback mechanisms if the D fails. Benefits: lower gas, higher throughput, secure data.
Got it. And the settlement on Base L2 pipeline?
Transactions execute on Onyx L3, batches get committed state hash to Base L2. After a challenge period on Base, they're finalized on Ethereum L1. Leverages Base's liquidity and security, giving Onyx low fees, fast finality, and Ethereum security.
Okay, clear process. And more on the XCN custom gas token.
It's the native token for cost-effective, scalable fees. EIP 1.559 burns some base fee, potentially deflationary. Aims for more stable, predictable fees than ETH gas, allows app-specific fee customization. And they're exploring meta transactions, potentially gasless for users in some cases.
Gasless would be huge for adoption. The white paper lists tons of core smart contracts. Seems complex.
It is. A whole suite manages everything. Transaction processing, state management, interoperability, contracts like Rollup Core, AnyTrust Stack, Base Settlement, Onyx Gas Manager, Onyx Sequencer, Onyx Fraud Proof, many others. Plus inbox and outbox for messaging and finalization. They're the engine room making it all work.
Right. The hidden plumbing. What about XCN tokenomics? Supply, treasury.
White paper details, max supply, total, circulating, the burn mechanism, emission control, managing bridge supply. There's an Onyx treasury funded by some XCN, managed by the DAO.
What's the treasury for?
Ecosystem support. Grants, liquidity, upgrades, partnerships. And the DAO, the XCN holders, control these tokenomic parameters through governance.
Community control. How does XCN staking work?
You stake XCN to help secure the network and participate in governance. You earn rewards based on how much you stake. Stakers can propose and vote in the Onyx DAO. The white paper outlines the whole proposal voting process. And there's a defined unstaking process too.
Earn rewards, get a vote. Makes sense. What about moving XCN around, XCN bridging?
They use bridges like Superbridge and Wormhole to let XCN move easily between Ethereum, Base, and Binance Smart Chain.
Benefits.
Easier liquidity movement, potentially lower gas fees for transfers, faster confirmations. But XCN remains fundamentally an Ethereum native asset.
Needed for a multi-chain world. And the Onyx ecosystem, partnerships.
Built on scale, security, interoperability, using Conduit, Reyes for integrations, key partners, privacy, Superbridge bridging, Tenderly dev tools, Third Web dev tools, bridged USDC for stablecoin liquidity, partnerships with decent NFTs, and chain financial infrastructure.
The chain partnership sounds significant.
Yeah, Onyx aims to boost performance scale for chains products, cut costs, enable subchains, improve asset tokenization, liquidity, and provide institutional-grade security compliance for them.
Building out the network. Now, we had that CoinCodex article on XCN price prediction from April 25. What was the sentiment then?
Technically neutral RSI, but indicators leaned bullish at that moment. Fear and greed index showed fear. Moving averages mostly suggested buy then. Oscillators were mixed. Analyst opinion was skeptical of hitting $100. Highest guess was under $1.60 by 2049. The article mentions standard TA tools traders use MAs, RSI, Fib, candles, whale watching.
Right.
And it just reiterated that price is supply-demand driven, influenced by news, regulation, adoption, sentiment.
Standard crypto market stuff.
Yeah.
But then the 99 Bitcoins article noted a big recent surge.
Yeah, that one mentioned a 20x jump from 0.0002 to 0.039 recently, before publication. Attributed it to Onyx's enterprise focus, strong community, partnerships like HTX Global and Justin Sun. And its scaling tech, though, it called it L2. We know it's L3 on Arbitrum.
Shows how fast sentiment can change.
Yeah.
So finally, the Onyx roadmap and conclusion. What's next?
Roadmap focuses on more L3 innovation, higher throughput, tokenized incentives, cross-chain oracles, maybe AI integration.
Ambitious.
The conclusion recaps the architecture, Arbitrum Base, AnyTrust, efficiency, EVM compatibility, EIP 1559, XCN's role, the ecosystem, and its potential for institutional and enterprise solutions.
Sounds like a comprehensive vision. Okay, wrapping up this deep dive on ChainX and Onyx, what are the final key takeaways for you?
ChainX stands out for its early work on native asset interoperability, especially enabling things like staking Bitcoin, really pioneering that connection between chains. Onyx represents that next step, exploring layer 3, leveraging L2s for massive scale, customization, and efficiency, clearly targeting that institutional market with XCN at its core.
So ChainX connecting the existing world, Onyx building a new, highly optimized layer on top.
Yeah,
Different angles on tackling blockchain limits.
exactly. Different but maybe complementary approaches. Which leads to the big question for our listeners.
Go on.
How might these advanced Layer 3 solutions, like Onyx, with their focus on scale and customization, really reshape things? What could they mean for the future of DeFi and for getting big enterprises truly on board with blockchain?
Yeah, definitely something to think about. Where does this L3 trend go? It's worth keeping an eye on Arbitrum Orbit, Base, and how the XCN ecosystem develops.
For sure.
Absolutely. A lot to chew on there. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
My pleasure.
Until our next exploration.